is based on falsehood, perpetrating a big fictitious narrative that there's some kind of a corruption on the purchase of fighter aircrafts. Now that the Supreme Court's verdict is out, addressing the three main issues which formed the core issue of a writ petition. So the writ petition which went to the court, to the Supreme Court, wanted the court to look into matters relating to the process which was followed for the procurement of these aircrafts, the price that was paid, and the selection of the Indian offset partner. These were the three main points of the writ petition, and on all the three of them, the Supreme Court has come out very clearly stating that they don't find a reason for any more worries and have given a clear statement. The Congress party is probably unable to accept that in the last nearly 5 years, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, a totally corruption-free government is running. So towards 2019, they don't know what is the issue on which they can attack, target, or even go to the people saying, you need a change because they've been a very corrupt government or something. No, there is no case to be made out at all. And more particularly because in matters of defense procurement, the Congress is notorious, and for them, that the defense ministry can run with procurement to address the operational readiness of the three forces being kept in mind is something which they are not able to believe, because they have a history of major corruption, some proven, some not proven, but very clearly a trail of corruption since the days immediately after independence. They've never functioned in the Ministry of Defense without middlemen. So for them, it's absolutely unbelievable that Ministry of Defense goes about attending to the requirement of the three armed forces so that the operational readiness is kept in mind. On the one hand, you have one neighbor, a big one at that, procuring more sophisticated equipments and vectors and aircrafts and something. On the other hand, you have a neighbor in the western part who himself, because of his new friendship, is acquiring more and more sophisticated equipments. And we are sitting 10 years over it, even to decide whether they should buy or not. The sense of urgency with which you have to be attending to the requirement of the armed forces has been completely forgotten. And even after coming through, let us say, 10 years of negotiation, they could not conclude, they could not buy, they could not give the Air Force what it required for operational readiness. So with that kind of a record, the Congress party is obviously desperate. One, to see why there has not been even a whiff of corruption. How come? And the second, how can it be so, especially in defense? Because you couldn't have taken decisions in defense without middlemen, without money going in the name of kickbacks. So they went on this game of pick up on Rafale, we'll go through the whole thing. They spent 10 years over it. They knew that the Air Force was working with them to say, get the aircraft for us because our squadron strength is depleting. But no, they didn't buy it, they didn't finalize the deal. But when the finalization happens through an intergovernmental agreement, without middlemen, no, how can this happen? Why should the Prime Minister decide? Is he alone, singly deciding on buying the aircrafts? No. That was one of the allegations. No, the Prime Minister doesn't decide. He doesn't decide singularly. The entire record of the price negotiating committee, the contract negotiating committee, headed by an Air Force Air Marshal, all of them have been working over a period of 16 months. And only after that draft version of the intergovernmental agreement went through the CCS was it cleared. No, the process has been vitiated because one man takes the decision. Not at all. The process has been fully followed. Negotiations took nearly 16 full months. And it is an intergovernmental agreement where the governments agree after due process that they need to buy this. So Prime Minister decides has been defeated as an argument. The processes are all recorded and it's available for people to see it. The price, my price versus your price. Nowhere in the world will you compare a price which has not been paid at all, be it on paper, for buying a commodity which they didn't buy at all. Compare that with where you are actually buying. I don't want to use the word ridiculous, but it is ridiculous actually, where I've kept a paper marked price, didn't go about buying it, but I've written it in the paper, so this is the best price I have attained. So the price that you're giving is wrong. When we are actually buying it, after due process, no, the price is wrong. And to mislead the people of India, and this I would want to say, almost knowingly misleading the people. Mine was only 500 million euro, whereas yours is 1600 million euro. Even if it is only in the paper that your price is on, compare like with like. 500 million euro you gave, presumably when you buy it, for a basic aircraft. 1600 euro. You're possibly picking a price, I'm not saying that is the price, but possibly picking a price of a fully equipped war machine. आपका भी कुछ और प्राइस है वॉर मशीन का, 500 हमारा कुछ है, उससे कंपेयर करो. आपका भी जो इक्विपमेंट के साथ, जो एवियोनिक्स के साथ, सो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक इक्विपमेंट एंड अदर थिंग्स के साथ जो है, यू कंपेयर दैट विद माइन. नो, ऑलमोस्ट दैट इज व्हाई आई एम सेइंग, जानबूझ करके गुमराह करने के लिए मेरा बेसिक एयरक्राफ्ट का प्राइसेस आपका इक्विपमेंट के साथ जो होगा उससे मैं कंपेयर करूंगा. दिस काइंड ऑफ ऑलमोस्ट डेलिबरेट अटेम्प्ट टू malign has today been thrown out by the court, saying they've looked into the price also. And finally, on the offset partner, the government to government agreement has nothing to do with who the partner is going to be. That goes by a separate rule book which is on offset partners. The commercial decision of anybody who supplies equipments to India will be who they want to work together with for that offset investment that they have to make or purchase that they have to make. That's a completely commercial decision. Of course, they'll come to tell the government because they have to be given credit for it. I buy a thing for 100 rupees, I want you to invest 30 rupees to 50 rupees in the name of offset obligation. Once you've done that 30 to 50 rupees investment or purchase, you'll come to government and say, look, these are the bills, these are the papers I'm showing you, this is the money trail, it goes through this bank account to so and so for having bought this commodity by me. I'll export it from here or I'll take it from a unit elsewhere. Please give me the credit for it. It is only at that stage we'll get to know who they've gone with. And this is not a rule which is made after 2014. Offset rules have existed even during the earlier government's regime. So even on that, The fact that it is a commercial decision and it has nothing to do with the government has come out clear. So, in spite of this now, no, we will not listen to Supreme Court, because what we as the first family of the Congress decide will be more important, and actually that is much more valid. That's in spite of not being constitutionally approved, it will still be the law of the land. I care nothing much for the Supreme Court. Is the approach with which this party, which is the oldest party apparently for this country. So what the Supreme Court says is not important, but what I say is important, and that I will say even more brazenly now. Do what you want. I'll still call the Prime Minister a chore. Amazing, with due respects, audacity. So I suppose the larger issues of what has emerged out of the Supreme Court I've put before you. The idea of a JPC. The other day when I had a joint press that evening when the court's verdict had come, the Congress party seems to grudge even that. Why should you have a celebratory press party? No. If I hadn't come out to speak along with another senior colleague, they would say, Supreme Court has come, but the government is not confident. You come, they have something to say. You don't come, they have something to say. We came very clearly to say, we responded to the writ petition, gave every detail, some of course in sealed envelope because it is a matter, and I'm glad the Supreme Court recognized even that requesting the confidentiality was absolutely important for national security. And therefore, even the other day, like Shri Arun Jaitley, the Honorable Finance Minister, said very clearly, a JPC after a Supreme Court 3-judge bench. For what, pray? What is the history of, say, JPC, particularly for defense? I'm not talking about all JPCs, particularly on defense. Yesterday, I think Shri Jaitley has also written a very clear blog to tell you what it actually could mean. A JPC, which will be politically divided, understandable, every JPC is going to be like that, is looking into a matter which is already comprehensively looked into by the Supreme Court. If we want to just look at the earlier history of a JPC on defense related matters, I'm not taking on others. You have the Bofors related JPC, which was headed by former minister, then Minister Shankarananji, B. Shankaran. It ended up calling the kickback which was given for Bofors deal as a winding up charge. They had an office here, they had to wind up, so we had to give them money. So a kickback was converted to be a winding up charge. That was the outcome of that. Although subsequently, you from the media, I'm not naming any media hosts, you all know it, the Bofors reportage at that time through the media very clearly said not just one Vin Chadda but Quattrochi was also involved in it. He had no office here, and did he not get entitlement for winding up charge then? What was the money given to him? Not winding up charge. Then what was it? So, to ask for a JPC is more for their political grandstanding rather than for genuinely knowing post a Supreme Court's verdict.